Now, there's been lots of protests over the years from the Israeli left, the left wing in Israel, against Netanyahu, saying stop the war. Even before this, with the judicial changes, whatever that were happening in Israel. I want you just to hear these protesters in their own words, because and I have to tell you, I really think it's so important that we foster unity and not division among the Jewish people and in Israel. But we need to be able to call out immoral stances. It's the stance we're calling out, not the person. So I want you to hear the stances that are being articulated so you can just understand yourself what it is these people articulate and believe.
And the Israeli government falls, right? And withdraw all the soldiers, Hamas remains in power, and
after 2 years,
why do you need a negotiation? Can't Hamas
yes,
just release the hostages?
When Hamas said yes to the negotiation, Netanyahu said no. Hamas said yes.
Do you believe Hamas?
Of course I believe Hamas. I don't
Do you believe Hamas?
I believe Hamas more than I believe Netanyahu. Yes, you can quote me. I believe Hamas more than I believe my prime minister. Yes, no doubt.
That is wild. All right, guys. I just think it's amazing, though, that you're in Tel Aviv and you're able to do that. And that's what I love about Israel. I think it's a real robust democracy.
Free for the Jews. Free for the Jews. It's an apartheid state.
There are 20% Arabs here, and I've been meeting Arabs all day. I've spoken to Israeli Arabs here, and yes, some identify as Palestinian, but when you pose the question to them, where would you rather live, under Israel or any other Arab state, they all want to stay. It's an unfair question because this is the best country in the Middle East.
No, it's an unfair question.
How can you say that we are the best country in the Middle East when we kill 70,000 people? That's genocide. How can we?
That's war. It's sad. It's horrible. It's war.
No war.
War is between two equals. No.
That's not true. When is war between two equals? Why does war defined by the two parties?
No, it's not.
When one side came in and really tried to commit genocide, the other side is defending its people.
Why is everything started at October 7th?
It didn't. In fact, it started in 1920, was probably the first terrorist attack, and that was against Jews.
And what happened? And that's all what you know. You don't know about what was done to the Palestinians. You don't know about what happened in 48. Do you know where all this?
I know what happened to the Yemeni people. My family came from Yemen. They were forced out by the Arabs.
You know where those
How far back do you want to go?
Well, I want to go and listen to where did all those people in the Palestinian, in the West, in the Gaza, where did they come from?
Depends. It's a mix of people. There's 700 displaced people. 700,000.
Mostly from Ashkelon, Ashdod. You know, all.
And where were my family
Well, then don't try and genocide us and kill us in 48.
refugees from? I'm from Australia, but my Yemeni family were refugees from other Arab lands. So history is brutal. It's harsh, and we need to move forward. But I just think that comparing Israeli freedoms to the Palestinian, right? You said it's worse. You say it's worse. You say the Israeli government's worse than Hamas. You don't believe. You believe Hamas more than you come on. Like I think that's. To be fair, I think that's either naive or crazy.
We don't agree with them. It's a different thing.
You know, when people say these lines, war is harsh and whatever, I don't even say that anymore. They tried to annihilate us in 48. The Arab leadership inside of what was then British Mandate Palestine, and then the UN proposed splitting the land in two, and then the surrounding Arab countries. Yeah, they got displaced in war. Well, they started a war against the Jews to try and throw us into the sea. You got displaced because you tried to genocide us. Sorry. We're not whining and complaining 70, 80 years on from more Jews than Arabs displaced from Arab lands that were forced and kicked out. We're not complaining about the last 2,000 years of being kicked out from country to country. My grandpa kicked out of Poland, or rather he fled for his life, and then his family's apartment was taken over by the Gestapo. Never got it back. They were left with nothing. And we move on. And that happened, the displacement that's happened to Jews throughout history was through no fault of our own. Here it was because Arabs were unprepared to live alongside the Jews. This is one of the great myths that people have about Israel. They think that the Jews came there and kicked everyone out and established Israel. No! Jews and Arabs were both living there legally, peacefully. Jews had, there were a bit more Arabs than there were Jews in 48 in the land, but Jews had been there for longer than Arabs had been in this land, and the only people that ever established a state prior to Israel's re-establishment was the Jewish people. So the UN looked at that and they said, okay, well, we think it's fair to maybe, you've got Arabs here and Jews here, let's just establish two states. And the Jews said, okay. The Arabs said, no, we don't even care about a state. We just don't want the Jews establishing a state because that shames our Islamic supremacy. And understand, they wouldn't have created an Arab state. They would have, all the Arab countries, had they won in 48, God forbid, they'd all just take a chunk of the land for themselves. They're not interested in free Palestine. So the whole thing is nonsense, and this kind of guilt complex we have is really a big problem. Really a big problem. I think in some ways it's one of the biggest problems of our times today. We actually have convinced ourselves that we're guilty, that we don't belong in Israel, that we don't have the right to wage war against our enemies. Now, people say, how can you talk about this whilst also preaching unity among Jews? So I say the following. First of all, we have to distinguish between Jews and ideas. Jews are all our family, including those people there. But not every idea that any Jew espouses is necessarily consistent with Torah, or Jewish continuity, or Jewish survival. So we can reject a destructive idea while not rejecting the person. Then, we can critique the ideology, not the people. When bad ideas take root, we should address them directly without vilifying those who hold them. Also, rebuke can sometimes be a genuine form of care to help people see the right path. And when people talk about Jewish unity, we need to have unity. That doesn't necessarily require political agreement. It just comes from remembering the shared soul, divine mission, and eternal bond that hold Jews together beyond ideology. We can't just let people espouse hateful, dangerous, suicidal politics and just say, yeah, we can't call that out in the name of unity. That would be unity in the name of destruction. So we have to hold two things in our hearts at the same time. That we have to be respectful and call for unity, and which sometimes is the very thing that might help change people's perspectives, because sometimes people are so stubborn in a unholy position because they feel attacked by the other side. So we have to be clear about that. So I don't want the YouTube comments to be flooded with hate and criticism, not criticism, but hate and vitriol towards these people. But we have to explain clearly why their position is wrong. Now, before we finish, I want to talk to you about, well, rather, let me just say that one of the sad things that I feel when I see Jewish people, as we saw here, parroting anti-Israel lines, is that Israel already is on its own. And to see some of us within our own ranks parroting the anti-Israel side is so painful. And part of understanding just how alone the Jews have been, it's been the Jewish people against the world throughout history, is knowing about a very painful occurrence that happened on the brink of World War II. Some are under the impression that it was just Nazis and Nazi Europe that was involved in the Holocaust. But actually, in some ways, many of the nations of the world were complicit because they closed their borders. And this is a documentary on JTV Plus and our new streaming platform about the Evian conference, where the world closed its doors on the Jews of Europe. Here's the trailer, and if you want to watch the full thing, just click a link in the video description. Imagine you're running for your life. Your home is no longer yours. Your neighbours spit at you in the streets. The government has branded you an enemy, stripped you of your rights, your livelihood, your humanity. You're a Jew in Nazi Germany, 1938, and the world knows your people are being crushed under Hitler's iron fist. You're desperate. clutching a suitcase with everything you own, praying for a visa, a ticket, a country, any country that will let you in. Now imagine this. The world's most powerful nations gather to decide your fate. 32 countries meeting in a lavish hotel by a serene lake with the power to save you, to save hundreds of thousands like you. And one by one, they say no. Welcome to JTV. I'm Ollie Annersfeld, and today we're diving into one of the most gut-wrenching, shameful chapters in modern history, the Evian Conference of 1938. This was the moment when the world had a chance to stand up, to open its doors, to save countless Jewish lives from Nazi persecution, and turned its back. This is a story of hope dangled and then snatched away, of sympathy that never became action, of a failure that paved the way for the Holocaust. We'll uncover every layer of what happened at Evian, why it unfolded the way it did, and the chilling warning it holds for us today. This is not just history, it's a mirror, forcing us to confront who we are when the world cries out for help. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.